The Champions League is back, and we kicked it off with Real Madrid beating RB Leipzig 1-0 at the Red Bull Arena in the last 16 of the competition. And to me, this wasn't much a surprise. I expected Real Madrid to win this game. However, I did see some people ahead of the game really say that maybe RB Leipzig had a chance, that there was a chance that Real Madrid were going to get knocked out, that they weren't going to do their best. And I thought to myself, it's incredibly naive. Yes, Real Madrid have injuries, which we're going to talk about. However, they've just come off the back of beating Girona 4-0 in La Liga to give them a 5-point cushion over Girona and then the 10-point cushion over Barcelona. And coming into this, the 14-time champions, it is their competition. It is their competition regardless of who's won it most recently. And I thought to myself, no, Real Madrid are always going to pull it out the pocket. However, I was really impressed with RB Leipzig because they did everything apart from put the ball in the back of the net. And if you're a Leipzig fan, talk to me, because the way the game went, you might have been disappointed you didn't come away with at least a draw, because I think you deserved it and you are actually the better team on the day. But before we get into it, guys, let me know. Do you want to see me react to more Champions League games? Is it not just the Premier League you want me to talk to? Do you want me to talk about teams all across Europe? Let me know in the comments below, and let's get into it. Going into the game, RB Leipzig had a fully fit squad, so they put out the full-strength side, and I really thought to myself, this is a side that could possibly do something against Real Madrid, and especially the back line, because you had Openda and Sesko up front, you had Simmons and Olmo just behind, and I thought they could really do something against Real Madrid's defence. Also, Willy Orban at the back was a massive boost to them to have them fit, and I thought Simikan up against Vinicius as someone who's more of a centre back but has been playing a lot of right back recently. He could definitely do something against Vinicius, really hold him down. And I thought, go on RB Leipzig, maybe they could do something. But we'll look at how Real Madrid set up, and they had massive injury issues going into this game. Obviously, Courtois was unavailable. He suffered his ACL at the beginning of the season, so he wasn't going to be available. Obviously, the main one, the big one, with Jude Bellingham, picked up a knock against Girona, so you're going to miss a couple of weeks, it seems. There were some rumours, Marco Rose, their RB Leipzig manager, thought, do you know what, it's Champions League, it's Jude Bellingham. I know him, I managed him from my time in Dortmund. He's probably going to play. Obviously, he wasn't even in the squad. But not only him, obviously no Rudiger, no Militao, and no David Alaba. So the defence was massively hampered for Real Madrid. Then there was a makeshift defence of Tchouaméni and Hernandez, which isn't obviously the first choice. Carvajal and Furlong Mendy were the wing-backs. Then you had a midfield of Valverde, Cruz, Camavinga, and it was Brahim Diaz who came in the number 10 position for Jude Bellingham. And obviously when Bellingham hasn't played, he hasn't played every single game, it always has been Diaz coming in and debutising for him. And I think if you were an AC Milan fan who were watching him last season, you would have said, do you know what, we know he's a fantastic player, we know he can do the job, of course he can play for Real Madrid. And you would have been disappointed you couldn't get him back. But when you see his performance on the day and his goal especially, which we'll get on to, I don't think you'll be too surprised. And obviously the front two of Rodrigo and Vinicius Jr., who are on the day absolutely world class. And the game started off pretty well for RB Leipzig actually. And RB Leipzig pressed Real Madrid from the very first whistle, and in the first minute it caused Dani Carvajal to have a momentary lapse in his concentration where he decided to try and switch the ball from right back to left back in what was his own third, very close to the penalty area, and actually it didn't quite work out and they put Real Madrid under immediate pressure because they conceded a corner. And from that corner, we have probably the biggest talking point to come out of the game, and whether or not the goal should have stood. And this seems to be all anyone can absolutely talk about. So here we have, the corner comes in, the ball comes out to the RB Leipzig player. He takes a shot. Now, the ball ends up with Sesko, and he puts the ball into the back of the net. However, you can't even see it, actually, now that I think about it, in the still, is that there's an RB Leipzig player behind Lunin, and he apparently pushes Lunin, and then that what leads to him being unable to get the ball and put the ball in the back of the net. Now, I have watched it again and again and again, and I'm still not even 100% sure. But before I give you my verdict, let me move on to the next still, which is this one. Because here you can clearly see the RB Leipzig player behind Lunin giving him a bit of a push. Well, is it even a push, or is he just putting his hands on him? I'm not quite sure. So, all the Leipzig players are onside, apart from the player behind Lunin, but that doesn't matter because he's offside. Is he interfering with play? It's a difficult one because he's obviously touching Lunin. So, what do you mean by interfere? Because if he's touching a player, then surely that means they're involved in the play. Oh, it's so tough because this was in the very first minute, and I think RB Leipzig players on the pitch didn't even realise what the decision was for. If they saw maybe this, I think there might have been a bit of more of an uproar because it was maybe, oh, it is offside, which is what it's given for. But they didn't understand the circumstances in why it was given offside. So why I thought like RB Leipzig players just let it go far too easily. But Twitter definitely picked it up. And I'm going to say that if it's in the Premier League, it's not. The goal is given, the goal stands because of the fact that the goalkeeper needs to be stronger, and the defender, I don't think necessarily being involved in the play. However, in the Champions League and in Europe, referees will give it because any slight touch on the goalkeeper, I think they give it. For me, the issue I have is as this shot comes in, Lunin isn't making a backward step towards his own goal. So the RB Leipzig player, even though he's touching Lunin, I don't think is technically interfering with play, if that makes sense. And so I think this goal should have stood because Lunin is standing there regardless of whether he gets the push or not. And as he sees the shot come in, he actually just stands there. He doesn't move backwards. He doesn't move to the left closer to the wall. He doesn't move to the right close away from the ball. And so I think the goal should have stood. I think it's very soft. And I think, can a player be interfering from behind the goalkeeper? Yeah, definitely. But was it enough to actually, impair Lunin's judgment? I don't think so. So for me, I'm still not 100%, but I think the goal should have stood. And I think it should have been 1-0 to RB Leipzig right from the minute. But even though that they didn't score right there and then, I did think they had other great chances. And the best of chances that RB Leipzig had seemed to be falling to Benjamin Seska, the 20-year-old Slovenian. I thought had a really good game. He really put himself about. I thought his holder play was excellent. I thought his linker play with his other RB Leipzig teammates was fantastic. I thought his runs off the last man were great. And he did everything right in this game for me, apart from putting the ball in the back of the net. And it feels harsh to say that because he's only 20 years old. However, I often think this, that when you've got the ascendancy in the game and you're up against a formidable foe in the likes of Real Madrid, you need to make sure you score a goal. Because as soon as you don't score a goal, Real Madrid are going to come back and they're going to gain control of the game and they're going to score a goal. And then you be kicking yourself, thinking to yourself, why on earth did we not take advantage when we were on top? Because they don't let you on top for long, but because they will score. And I just think, if I got his shooting stats on the game, he's had 5 shots, 4 on target, 1 off target, 3 big chances in the game, 3 big chances missed. And I just think to myself, if it was maybe someone else in the game, maybe it was a Pender who had those chances, maybe he would have had maybe RB Leipzig would have converted one of them. But I just feel so bad because he's 20 years old. He did everything right apart from put the ball in the back of the net. But I don't think that's necessarily all his fault because I think Lunin had a fantastic game. And this was a guy who we've known about for a long time for Real Madrid, who's often not been given the opportunities to play. And I think Courtois' injury, I immediately thought to myself, he's going to become the number 1 now. Then Real Madrid obviously signed Kepa Arrizabalaga on loan from Chelsea. I think to myself, is this guy ever going to get a chance to show us what he's got? And I think this season he has. He is comfortably displaced Kepa. And I think when Courtois is back and is fit, there is going to have to be a real discussion about how much game time Lunin gets because he's arguably going to be the future for Real Madrid and their goalkeepers. Just in this game alone, 9 saves, 5 from inside his own box, 3 high claims, 2 punches. And I think the most important one was goals prevented, 2.44. And I think to myself, what a fantastic game he had. I think he was, for me, Real Madrid's man of the match on the day. And I think without him, Real Madrid would have lost this game. And RB Leipzig should have and probably would have got at least a draw, maybe even a win out of the game, which I think they deserved based on how they played. But if it wasn't for Lunin, then I think Real Madrid would have been in trouble. But it wasn't just Lunin, because it was that man, Brahim Diaz, who's debutising for Jude Bellingham. And I know there's a player in there. I think we all know there's a player in there. We saw it from his time in AC Milan. And I think it's very unfortunate he doesn't get more minutes that he deserves. But when he's got the likes of Bellingham, Cruz, Modric, Tchouaméni, Camavinga, Valverde ahead of him, it makes it really, really difficult. And Vinicius and Rodrigo even in the wide positions. And Diaz did himself no harm with that goal whatsoever. I thought he was one of the best players on the day. And then the goal absolutely cemented. And I just thought to myself, Leipzig, you were in the ascendancy, you had control for the majority of that game. You've got to put Real Madrid to bed. They didn't, and as Real Madrid always, they produced a moment of absolute quality. And I think, Diaz, take a bow. And you can see where Carvajal picks up this ball here on the right hand side. And you can see where Diaz is as well. He's running away from the goal into that wide space. And I think to myself, right, Leipzig are in a really good position here. There's absolutely no way that Diaz is going to be able to score from here. However, obviously, he proves us all completely wrong. And as Howe passes him the ball, I think to myself, again, there's a Leipzig defender right next to him. However, he's able to dummy to go one way and then takes the other way. I just thought to myself, there's a very easy pass to Valverde just ahead of, above me. And I just thought to myself, it's very easy just to do that. But he decides, no, this is my game, I'm going to take a risk, and he absolutely does it. Not only does he get the wrong side of his man, but then he also stands up another Leipzig defender, and then you can even see you've got another Leipzig defender closing him down from midfield, but none of that matters whatsoever, and this run was Messi-esque, I can't lie. It was absolutely phenomenal. And now Leipzig are in trouble because, as you can see, Diaz is running towards the goal and no one can do anything about it because they're all wrong side of him, and then the players in front of him, he knows he can take him on very, very easily. And here he is where he's just about to shoot. You can see he stood up his man and he's got absolutely no chance. He's too far away and he's going to arrow that ball into the top corner. And I just thought to myself, that was a world-class goal, world-class run from a player who, if he was to play consistently, I think we'd all be raving out a lot more, apart from just in this game, because that was amazing. I'm running out of words to describe it. And it wasn't just Diaz and Lunin for Real Madrid in this game. I also thought to myself, Tchouaméni was excellent. It was quite funny because he's partnering Nacho Hernandez in the heart of the defence. And I actually thought to myself that Tchouaméni looks like the more natural centre-back than Hernandez. In his defence, he's only just come back from an injury. But I thought to myself, he was excellent. There was a moment, I think, when Sesko was running through on goal. And if it wasn't for the fact that Tchouaméni got a sliding tackle in, I think Leipzig would have scored that one. And I just thought to myself, it was classic Real Madrid. And now the question is, can RB Leipzig do anything about it? I don't think so. I think it's tough. But I do think that going to the Bernabeu, I think that Real Madrid will have too much for RB Leipzig and be one where maybe there might be a little bit of a scare from Leipzig because they have to go for it. It's a competition. You may as well go for it. What are you going to lose? But I think Real Madrid will have too much. And then who can stop them? Who can stop Real Madrid? Because like I said, there were so many players injured who aren't even available for this game. And if they have a fully strength side, what can they go on and achieve? And I think in terms of all the teams in Europe this season, I think Bayern Munich haven't really impressed me. It's one where Bayer Leverkusen have looked significantly better than them in the league, apart from the fact that Harry Kane's been banging goals early on in the season. But since then, it's kind of, bowled off a little bit. I think to myself also, the English teams, Arsenal, first season back in the Champions League, I'm not sure they're going to be able to do it. And I think to myself, Manchester City, that is the big one. And I think, for the last few years, we've seen Manchester City and Real Madrid dominate and do incredibly well in Europe. Manchester City not always won it apart from last season. But I think to myself, in a one-off game, I would love to see Real Madrid versus Manchester City. Because I think that's the game where we have the two best sides in Europe this season. I think we're being honest, and I don't really want to admit it as a Liverpool fan, but I think those two are the best two teams in Europe. And I would love to see them in the final. Because I think over 2 legs, I think Man City probably would beat Real Madrid. Because I think individual moments of quality is all well and good, but I think the team and the juggernaut that is Man City, I think they could dominate them. But I think a Real Madrid Manchester City final, I think that'd be glorious, and I think that'd be one where everyone would be wanting to see that. But it's just half-time in terms of the leg for Real Madrid and RB Leipzig. Maybe there's a comeback. Maybe there is an upset to be had. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But if you guys enjoyed this video, let me know. Do you want to see me react to more Champions League games in the future? Because if you do, then I'll be more than happy to do so. You need to let me know, though, in the comments below. And I'll see you in the next one.